And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third segment, I'm going to be talking about some Khris Middleton news because the Bucks head coach, Doc Rivers, recently provided a really alarming update for Khris Middleton. And this could really, it might shock a lot of Bucks fans, I guess you could say. So I'm just going to go ahead and get into what the article has to say. So Doc Rivers said on ESPN's Summer League broadcast on Tuesday that Khris Middleton recently underwent surgery this summer. Now, this is very, very surprising because from my knowledge at least, and especially from watching the playoffs, it didn't seem like he was injured. It didn't seem like there was anything wrong with him. And so this news that he recently went through surgery over the summer is very surprising, to say the least. Now, Shams and Eric Nem of The Athletic provided the details. According to Shams, the Middleton is recovering from two separate procedures. Now, the first procedure is an arthroscopic, again, forgive me if I completely messed up that name, arthroscopic surgery on Middleton's left ankle to address an injury that plagued him throughout the 2023-24 season. The Bucks now, according to the article, the Bucks forward originally sprained his ankle on February 6th and said a month later that he had never experienced a sprain as bad as that one. Now, him in the comments is really surprised. He hit 2 buzzer beaters versus the Pacers. Yeah, this is very, very surprising. But this is what the article's saying. This is what it's telling me. So, whoa. Now, this is the first procedure was on his sprained ankle, and he never had a sprain as bad as that one. That's what he said. It kept him on the shelf for nearly a month and a half, costing him 16 games. Now, Middleton also underwent an arthroscopic procedure on his right ankle. So he had 2 of them on. I think, at least according to this article, it seems like he had 2 of them. Now, per the Athletics, due to a cleanup on lingering issue, he sprained his right ankle in Game 2 of the team's first-round postseason series against Indiana. Okay, so it seems like he was playing through the injury in the series while he was, on Indiana. Now, we have someone else in the chat. Shots below the belt. Bucks killed their season trading that haul for an already peaked superstar in Damian Lillard. They lost Drew Holiday. Middleton is injury prone. He ain't no number 2 option, which is why they have Damian Lillard on the team. Middleton, and I want to make the argument that Middleton was the number 2 option for the Bucks when they won the championship. I mean, he was the closer for the team. You don't really get the title of being the closer unless you are the number 2 option, right? And sure, Drew Holiday was there, but but to my knowledge, he was only really there for 1 game, and that was really in the finals where they really needed him, which, again, not saying that that's bad at all, not saying that I wouldn't want to have Drew Holiday on the team, especially with how he seems to perform under pressure. But again, the consistency that Khris Middleton had throughout that postseason when they won back in 2021, that was second option material. Now, obviously, I guess the injury prone might have changed his second option material, but this is why they have Damian Lillard. And I mentioned on a previous podcast that one of the reasons why Dame probably wasn't playing the same Dame that we usually saw in Portland was because he wasn't working out in the offseason. At the offseason, when he was getting traded, or when there were the rumors that were going around that he was getting traded, he didn't want to injure himself. So to avoid injury, he just didn't work out in the offseason, right? Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would you not work out in the offseason? How are you going to get injured working out? I've seen a lot of players, I've seen a lot of athletes, they get injured by lifting weights. I've seen that happen before. I was teammates with with a football player, right? And he literally injured himself just by lifting weights. He tore his ACL just by lifting a weight. And I'm just like, what? So it can happen. It's really difficult for that to happen, but it can happen. Bad luck is a thing. And you don't want to risk yourself getting injured, especially when you're going to get traded. Like, that's what... Oh, and there's also him in the chat. He mentions Chet Holmgren. He also got injured, lifting weights. And yes, that did cost him his official rookie season. So he does make a valid point there. But yeah, so I think Khris Middleton, he's not second option now because Damian Lillard, but he's still a solid option for the Bucks, and they desperately need him to play like that if they want to, succeed going into the future. But again, it's going to be really difficult to do that now, especially with the Celtics having a majority of their players under contract for, I believe, 2 more years at the very least, because then again, we have no idea just whether or not they're going to re-sign some of their players, because again, while that second apron is deadly, right, the revenue of the NBA and the salary cap, it's going to go up, and therefore the contracts that they're going to sign, it might not be as significant and as detriment to the second apron as you might think. On top of that, some of the players might actually want to have a pay cut, because we saw Jalen Brunson take a huge pay cut. We're seeing Mikal Bridges take a huge pay cut. Now, maybe this is going to be a trend for a lot of the athletes to sort of start taking pay cuts in order to win. You never know. And Shots Below the Belt said, NBA players are so frail now. Honestly, I get that feeling too. Like, a lot of these players, they seem to get injured really, really quickly. And, I mean, just look at Joel Embiid. I think he is the frailest of the frail, because he just, he falls on the ground for every little thing. In the next segment, I'll pull up an image where he literally he gets touched by his finger. Like, someone touches their finger on him, and he just goes, like, it's hilarious. I might show it off in the next segment. But aside from that, back on the Khris Middleton stuff, because I did get a little bit carried away, and he had a sprained ankle issue in game 2, at least according to this article. The procedure on Middleton's left ankle occurred shortly after the Bucks were eliminated in the playoffs in May, while the second procedure on the right ankle was completed in mid-June. Although it may not be welcome news for Bucks fans that Middleton, whose effectiveness has been compromised by injury issues in recent years, is recovering from surgeries on both ankles. Shams said that the recovery process is going well, however. Now, the 32-year-old was walking around without pain or discomfort in Las Vegas over the weekend and has already begun light on-court workouts, league sources told The Athletic. The expectation is that Middleton will be ready to go for the start of the 2024-2025 season. Now, his numbers were at an all-time low, they weren't as good as you would expect them to be, but they weren't bad. They weren't horribly. They really weren't as bad as you might think. Now, he averaged 24 points and 9 rebounds and 4 assists in the 6 games where, in the playoff series against the Pacers, and also was able to make 48% of his shots and 90% of his free throws. Now, let me just go ahead and see. Him, I have no idea what you're saying in the comments. Face red, droopy eyes. Face red, droopy. Okay, whatever. I don't know what that is. Maybe I don't know if that's emojis, but they're not registering in my chat. I apologize for that. But that's really all that I have to say about Khris Middleton. Again, hopefully he'll be good for the Bucks. I really don't want to see the Celtics win another championship, and I would much rather a whole other team wins the championship aside from Boston. Not a big fan of Boston. So, with that, we are out of time for this third segment. So now I will go ahead and go into the fourth segment, where I talk about some of the Summer League performances, as well as Bronny James, some basketball news, and I will also show you that image that I was talking about with Joel Embiid. Now, actually, Shots Below the Belt says he ain't no number 2. Again, on a team with Damian Lillard and Giannis, you're right. I don't expect him to be a number 2 option. But he can be, he's played pretty well. He's done it before. He can do it again. Not going to put that past him. I mean, again, the injuries, I understand the injuries, they might really be a problem. But does that mean that Paul George is a third option for the 76ers? I mean, maybe he is, but do you really think he's a third option and not a second option behind Joel Embiid? Just a thought. Now, in the second, I'll be right back after this short break. I'm also going to go ahead and pull up that image that I wanted to show you guys, so be sure to stay tuned.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.